to have a quick, small break from the panel. We're going to cross live to the UK to Brendan O'Neill, the editor of Spiked Online. Brendan, welcome.
Hey.
Now, the recent polls are showing that Boris Johnson is enjoying a comfortable lead during this election campaign. There's projections that he could even win a majority of 68 seats. How do you think it's tracking?
It's looking pretty good for Boris. He, as you say, this huge poll that happens, but is done by YouGov, and it's a constituency by constituency poll, so it's very thorough, and it pretty much predicted the result of the general election in 2017. It says that Boris could get a very big majority, a majority of 68. Labour would lose more than 50 seats. So it's a devastating poll for Labour, and it's a really cheering poll for the Conservative Party. I mean, everything has to be taken with a pinch of salt these days. Politics is unpredictable, especially in the UK. But it is fascinating. I think what Boris really has working in his favour is that he has said that he would defend the vote for Brexit. He would uphold that democratic vote that British people made in 2016, whereas pretty much all the other parties, apart from the small Brexit party, are going into this election saying that they will overthrow that vote. The Liberal Democrats say they will simply cancel it.
Brendan, you'd have to wonder that, you know, even after the referendum, which the Parliament didn't respect, even if Boris Johnson wins this election, I bet you that he would still struggle to get Brexit through, because no one seems to respect the will of the public when it comes to the issue of Brexit in the UK.
You're absolutely right, and that's a severe problem in the political life of this country. So few people in the establishment respect the will of the people. That's why it will be quite exciting if Boris gets a large majority, because then he'll have more leeway to push some kind of Brexit through Parliament. Well, whether it will be a perfect Brexit or whether it will be a bit of a sellout Brexit, we'll have to wait and see. But at least it would give him that leeway. Whereas the Liberal Democrats and the Labour Party have both promised to revoke Brexit and have a second referendum, which would essentially make null and void 17.4 million votes. I think it's fascinating that those anti-democratic parties, which are promising to overturn the referendum result, seem to be doing pretty badly in this election, because ordinary people support the idea of democracy, even if those parties don't.
Now, what about Jeremy Corbyn? He's refused to apologise 4 times in an interview for taking any responsibility when it comes to anti-Semitism within the Labor Party. There's said to be about 130 cases of anti-Semitism in Labor that are under investigation at the moment. He argues that all of this anti-Semitism sentiment did not start when he became leader. What's your view? Is he responsible for this?
He bears a huge amount of responsibility for this, and I really wish he'd stop washing his hands of it. You know, it pains me to say that Labour has become a pretty racist party over the past few years. Let's not forget, Jeremy Corbyn himself expressed approval for an anti-Semitic mural that was painted in East London, which showed hook-nosed Jews dominating the world. This is a man who has invited to the House of Commons someone who has been convicted of spreading the blood libel. He described Hamas as his friends, and Hamas, of course, has a deeply
is a terrorist
anti-Semitic covenant, which
terror group.
It's a terrorist organisation, and as the ADL says, Hamas's covenant is explicitly anti-Semitic and really wants to and talks about killing Jews. So Corbyn himself has associated with anti-Semites again and again. It would be as if Boris Johnson had been photographed meeting. It's outrageous. Like, imagine Boris Johnson had met the KKK or had met a group which was constitutionally devoted to killing Muslims. It's that level of controversy.
But yet celebrities seem to be backing him, don't they?
Yes, a lot of celebrities are coming out for Corbyn. They're coming out for Corbyn's Labour Party. Corbyn has done a pretty good job of getting the youth vote out, because the Labour Party now increasingly relies on young voters, because so many middle-aged and elderly voters have turned away from it in horror, pretty much. And so they've called upon celebrities, people like Stormzy and other grime superstars and actors and pop stars, to really get the youth vote out. I think the fact that the Labour Party is now so reliant on the youth vote rather than the working class vote, which is turning away from it, and rather than the older vote, which is turning away from it, that in itself tells a really interesting story about how isolated this party has become.
I mean, all of this is very worrying when you think that, according to this poll that you've said has been very reliable out today, or out yesterday, that there's 30 seats that have a margin of less than 5%. I mean, you know, it could be, polling is inaccurate in recent times. This could be a very close election.
Could be a very close election. A lot of seats are up for grabs. It depends a lot on turnout. It depends on who turns out. Will Leave voters turn out? Will Remain voters turn out? Will the old turn out? Will the young turn out? All these questions are still in play, and all of those will have an impact on the end result. My view is that it would be wrong to vote for the Labour Party at this precise moment because of their anti-Semitism problem, because of their reneging on Brexit, and because of what they've done to their working class voters, which is turn their backs on them. That's why Labour is doing badly in the polls, and that's why Boris is doing well. But whether this holds up over the next 2 weeks before election day itself, that remains to be seen.
Now, just lastly, to another topic, one of the United States women who have accused Prince Andrew, she's had an interview aired on television. What's your view on this and how it's affecting the royal family?
It's having a terrible impact on the royal family, and Prince Andrew has essentially been sacked by the Queen. That's really what's happened. He's been taken off public duties. I'm slightly worried about the fact that this is all playing out in the media. I think it was a mistake for Prince Andrew to give that infamous interview to Newsnight. I think it's probably a mistake for his accuser to also give an interview to the BBC. I mean, these are serious accusations. They shouldn't be played out in trial by media. They should be taken to court. I'm ever so slightly worried, and I say this as a Republican, I'm slightly worried that the criticism of Andrew has now become a bit of a witch hunt. We do have to appreciate that he is innocent until proven guilty, and I think we should take this out of the court of the media, out of the kangaroo court of even the BBC media, and really hand it over to the authorities for them to make a cool judgment about what actually happened in this case.
Yeah. Brendan O'Neill, thank you very much for your time, and look forward to chatting again.
Thanks, Sherry. Thanks.